If you don't know me, my name's Ian. Hello, hi. Hi, Ian. Hi, good to meet you all. Good. I wear many, many hats. I am a dad. I am a husband, hopefully a good one. I am an IT geek. I'm an elder. I just about wear a whole lot of hats. And look, it may seem in some scenarios when I stand up here, or maybe when you meet me in the hallway, that, I just kind of move through life with a little bit of grace. Oh, Ian, he knows his faith. He juggles all these things. Hey, little secret. I wasn't always able to navigate life, and I'm not always able to navigate life with any sort of grace. So I don't stand up here as a holier-than-thou kind of person, and that's what we're really going to talk about today. But before we do that, I want to give you a little family history about where I came from. It's picture time. You guys ready? Okay. All right. That's me right there. That's my sister. That's my middle brother. That's actually my cousin. But I grew up on the West Coast. I was the oldest of four. That's the original four right there, and then that's my half-sister right there. Look, we all look alike. Surprise. I grew up on the West Coast, oldest of four. I would say that you could say my childhood was fairly normal. In any childhood scenario, especially when you got all these kids kind of bunched together like this, there's going to be some bickering, right? And we're going to pick on each other. I picked on the boys a lot. Now they're both like 6'2" and 6'3", and they're scared of me. Little 5'8", 135-pound Ian, right? So something to be said for intimidation. I'm just saying out there. Okay. All right. Cool. But what wasn't normal about my childhood was that at the age of 13, my parents divorced. And to say that impacted me is probably an understatement. That's senior in high school Ian right there. I never really felt like I fit in my early to late teen years. I always felt like I was different from everybody else around me. They had these nice lives that seemed drama-free. They had both their parents and friends, and what I perceived as an unlimited amount of wealth and benefits that I could never tap into. My family grew up poor. We moved from place to place. Like it was difficult, and I always felt left out because everybody else had all these things, and I really didn't. I think that I was angry at people for my own situation. I remember one specific time I felt very, alone, separated. I mean, look, being 13, let's go back here. Being 13 and whatnot is hard enough. But when you're 13 and then you add in a divorce and all these other aspects of it, I felt lonely, I felt anger, I felt abandoned, I felt all those things. And I really was angry for people at my own situation. I didn't feel like I had anything to offer anybody else, that I was different. I remember this one time specifically that I was known for erupting, like emotionally just melting down. See, surprise, where does JoJo get it? Just melting down, just completely melting down. And my parents, during this one time, famously sent me out. They were like, just get out of here with your attitude, and sent me into the backyard. Well, I was so taken by all the emotion and the emotional cloud that I was in. I went into the backyard and I started punching the wood fence. And I punched the wood fence until my knuckles bled, and blood was dripping down. And that was the only way that I felt like I could get through it. And I physically punched the fence, not only till my knuckles bled, but till I was out of steam. My body completely was out of steam, because that was my only outlet. I was frustrated, I was angry, I had all these contentious thoughts inside of me, and that was my only avenue. And I thought for a long time, especially in my early teen years and even into my 20s, that that's just how my life was going to be. That when pressure and all these things happened to me, that my only outlet was going to be this fit of rage. And it was who I was. It was part of what defined me. Now, some of you would say, well, Ian, look at the circumstances around you. How could you not be angry? That's fair, right? First child of 4, parents divorced, grown up poor, moving place to place, right? Not a whole lot of love in that scenario. You could really look at it and be like, hey, you know what? You're completely justified because look at the context in which you grew up, Ian, so I totally get it. And listen, I felt in that moment, when I punched that fence, I felt very justified about what I was doing. I felt very identified and felt alive that this fence deserved everything that I had to give to it, right? But isn't that how we all feel in the fog of emotion dealing with a situation? When your day sucks, your day sucks at work and then it spills into your home. You look at your calendar wondering if you're nearing a full moon or what. And you get just a touch shorter with all your normal interactions. You know what I'm talking about. You're just like a little bit more clippy than you are normally. Yeah. Well, what about you parents when you're tired and you're pushed to the brink and you say the same thing to the same child for the 1300th time and you feel like something inside of you just snaps? Yeah. What about that girl or the guy at work that just isn't listening and then they, or you, lash out in anger? Per my last email, Karen! When your so-called friends or worse, your super annoying family member attacks you for no apparent reason. I've had that happen to me before, and I swear that I threatened to take them out at the kneecaps. How about when your spouse or your significant other lies to you or abuses your trust or even worse, cheats? In that moment, the emotion, that raw emotion is really building, and that cloud that enters your brain is almost insurmountable. And the thoughts that go through your head is, you know what? Everything's about to change right now, and you cannot see past that emotion. But Ian, look, there are some things that just put me over the edge, and when I go off, I go off. Is that you? Is that what you just said in your head? I know. Trust me, I do too. I'm right there with you, but we are called to be different as Christ followers. And how are we any different from non-believers if we go off, even if our reasons are well justified in our mind or in the world context? Last week, Pastor Mike said that growth is not time-bound, right? So he gave the example of somebody having 26 years of experience teaching, but they never really grew as a teacher, right? Life experience, you need to grow. You could have many years of experience in something, but never really progress, so to speak, is what he said. But most importantly, knowing what he said, knowing Jesus will change the course of your life. Here's where I want us to land today. Following Jesus dramatically improves the person that we are. You've got, let's see, did I put it down? I did. You got this little thing? This little notes thing? I want you guys to write that down, okay? We're going to come back around to it. I've got some key aspects when we get out of the Bible, the Word, for you to action and really utilize in the heat of the moment, in the moment of emotion that's going to be helpful for you, okay? We, my friends, are in 2 Peter. We are chapter 1. We're going to be reading verses 3 through 8, okay? Let me get my Bible there. That will give you your time to get your Bible or your app there, okay? All right, cool, fine. Fantastic. And we're going to start the reading at verse 3. Read with me if you would. His divine power has given us everything we need for life and godliness through our knowledge of him who called us by his own glory and goodness. Through these, he has given us his very great and precious promises, so that through them you may participate in the divine nature and escape the corruption in the world caused by evil desires. For this very reason, make every effort to add to your faith goodness, and to goodness, knowledge, and to knowledge, self-control, and to self-control, perseverance, and to perseverance, godliness, and to godliness, brotherly kindness, and to brotherly kindness, love. For if you possess these qualities in increasing measure, they will keep you from being ineffective and unproductive in your knowledge of our Lord Jesus Christ. All right. As you're aware, I like context, right? Every time I do this, I think it's really important for us to understand not only the author, but the audience and the setting. It tells you a lot about what that message is. So taking any scripture out of context, I think, is a little foolhardy. So what do we have here? We've got 2 Peter. So guess who wrote it? Peter! Oh, yay! The author is Peter the Apostle, a.k.a. Simon Peter, right? He was a fisherman. He was married. That's him. If you've seen The Chosen, how many of you have seen The Chosen? Yeah. So hopefully that'll ring bells about who Simon Peter was, his character, how it was portrayed on the television screen, give it a little bit more context. But what was most important to me is that his name was originally Simon, right? And in Aramaic, it means the one who hears the word, right? To Peter, and that is referred to as, in Aramaic, I think it's rock, if I'm not mistaken, is what it is. So he changed his name specifically from one who hears the word to the rock, or the spiritual rock. And I think that has some, synergy of where we're going to kind of go today, and especially synergy with the context in which the author is speaking. So who is he speaking to? Well, he's speaking to you. You're like, no, that was a long time ago, Ian. That was written in 64, 67 AD. Well, yes, but if you look at 1 Peter, okay, let me just give you a little cheater, okay? All you got to do is read the front end of the book, and it'll tell you exactly who they're writing to, okay? Notch that one up. So in 1 Peter, he says, to God's elect, strangers in the world, scattered throughout, in the Pontus, Galatia, some other word I can't say, Asia, Bithynia, who have been chosen according to the foreknowledge of God the Father through the sanctifying work of the Spirit for obedience to Christ and sprinkling by his blood. He's calling out everybody. Hey, this is for you. This is for you now. This is for them then. This is for everybody that knows Jesus. Everyone. Okay? So that's who he's writing to. He's writing to you. He wrote this, I think, as I said, 64 to 67 AD is what they kind of think. But during this time, he's in prison. He's in prison in Rome, nonetheless. Okay? So you want to talk about a guy that is restrained, probably not having the best time of his life, right? Like he's not partying up. He's not like, yay, we're loving the fruit of the Christ or anything like that's not what's happening. He is literally imprisoned and probably going to be executed for his faith in Jesus Christ, proclaiming that, okay? So that's what's happening. Now, as we read that, I know you're thinking, hey, Ian, did you mess up? Didn't we read that last week? Yeah, actually we did. By the end of this whole thing, you guys are going to know that by heart. That is your challenge, and I'm done. No, just kidding. That is we're going to go back over this because what we're getting into this week is some of the down-level ingredients of once we know Jesus, what are the things that Jesus is calling us to do in our path to follow him, right? What are those influences going to make us do? And now you're thinking, oh, Ian, but I'm too old to change. I'm too young to change. I don't know enough to change. And then insert your thing. We all have reasons why we can't progress in our path, right? I want you to stick a little pin in those right now because what we're going to talk about is that we need to deepen our walk. And I want to break this down just a touch. So verse 3, verse 4, if you look back at that, his divine power has given us everything we need for life and godliness through our knowledge of him who called us by his own glory and goodness. Through these he has given us his very great and precious promises, so that through them you may participate in the divine nature and escape the corruption. Look, it's through him and his power that in the middle of these emotional moments that happen in our life, that we're able to deal with them. It's not us. It's not in our own capabilities and our own... look, I'm a very big proponent of therapy. I'm sorry if that makes you weird or anything like that. I love therapy, okay? So therapy has its own place, but through God, it's God's will, it's his power, it's his gift to you, it's his grace that really sets you off on the right course, that allows you to deal with the crap that the world is going to throw at you. It's his power, not yours. The other thing that I want to point out is that these are divine ingredients. Verse 4, they are not of you. You probably at the top of this were like, Ian, I am that person that flips out at the smallest little thing, and I melt down just like you. There is no way that I'm going to be able to deal with massive situations like people attacking me and spouses and kids and all these other things that get tossed at us. I can't do that. Well, guess what? They don't come from you. They come from the divine. They are a gift of grace to you, and you have full access to them. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is, I know that the world sucks. I know it. And sometimes I suck too, right? I'm not perfect. People, I think I said this generally speaking in our family chat the other day, but I generally don't like people. I know that seems odd given the extrovert and nature of who I am, but generally I feel like people are a little slanted, and this world is a little slanted. And there's a lot of the time that I wake up in the morning and I say, I don't want to adult today. I just don't want to do it. I'm not capable of pulling through this day and getting through the emotions that I know are coming at me. I had a super, super bad day on Thursday of last week. People attacking me at work. Things are burning down in flames at home. JoJo's melting. All the things were aligning to be Bah! And in that moment, I had every reason to just absolutely lose it. And in that moment, I reverted. Some of you that are in small group will recognize this. I reverted to almost ritualistic prayer. I know that sounds weird, but what do I mean by that? Sometimes in the heat of the moment, what happens is that when you try and say a long prayer, you lose it, right? Because your brain is all over the place. So what I found that works for me, maybe it's just my ADHD brain, I'm not entirely sure, but what works for me is I shorten it all the way down. And I make it into 4 words. God, please help me, or something along those lines. I just say it over and over and over and over again. Tapping, being intentional into a power that is beyond me, that is available to me in the heat of the moment, That's a tactic that I use in order to break through that emotion, that emotional bubble that I have happening. Now, some of you are like, oh, I'm not going to break through the bubble. There's no way, Ian. Maybe my thing will work for you. Maybe it won't. I don't know. You got to figure it out. Because all of us will get into that nice little emotional bubble, and that's when you're going to need the most help, right? So how do you tap into that divine ingredient and his power in the moment where you are completely weak? I want to give you a few things. I think that these things, we'll get to them here in a moment, but these things will help us in our daily lives. So I'm going to give you three things, three takeaways that we can execute on, because I'm a very practical guy. I like spreadsheets. I like actionable things, so I'm going to give you three things to walk away from. But I think what you're thinking to yourself is like, Ian, come on. What you're saying to me now is that in the middle of my kids melting down, and my day is beyond crazy, and my coworker is literally yelling and cussing, and my friends are attacking me for no reason, and my spouse or my significant other cheats, you're saying that the time for cooler heads and self-control is right now? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so is Peter. Remember, this isn't your will, your power, your anything. It is quite literally by the grace of God. There's a reason that people say that. It's quite literally by the grace of God that you have the capabilities to make it through. Verse 9 says, if I can find it, but if anyone does not have them, he is nearsighted and blind and has forgotten that he has been cleansed from his past sins. Paul's saying, are you blind? Have you forgotten? You have been cleansed by God. Peter comes just short of calling us stupid. Hey, dummy, wake up. Do you not remember that you've got these things, that you are chosen and loved by God? In verse 10, he says, therefore, my brothers, be all the more eager to make your calling and election sure. What does that mean? Eager to make my calling and election sure. What in the world? He's saying be enthusiastic to commit to trying as many times as you need to. What does that mean? Well, that means that I'm not going to bat 1,000. I'm not going to be perfect. There's going to be situations in which my kids will go off, and I'm going to handle it wrong. Straight up. There's going to be situations in which I'm not going to tap in. I'm not going to be of God. I'm not going to be peaceful. I'm going to explode. I'm going to revert to 13-year-old Ian and implode and maybe punch a wooden fence. I don't know. But what I have to do is I have to be enthusiastic to try again, because that's what the grace of God provides us, right? It provides us the opportunity to start again, no matter how many times we failed in the past. Maybe some of you are like, look, I'm way too far down the road. That's why I said, hey, I'm too old. I've done all these things, and I'm way too far. Throw it all out. These are the qualities, these are the capabilities that Christ gives us. Now, chosen by God, chosen and loved by God, verse 9. You got to keep trying, verse 10. The other thing that I want to give you as I call the band back up, is I want to give you some actionable things. I'm a very tangible kind of guy, so I'm going to stand with my back to you for a second. It's not because I don't like you, okay? Just so we're clear on what's happening. In small group this week, and these guys can back me up, in small group this week we were talking about this very thing, about emotional scenarios and what we needed in order to get through them. And we landed on this verse in which we all agreed that if we had it taped to our bathroom mirror, it would really help us in the moment. It'd encourage and help us through those moments when you're looking into the mirror and you're like, I don't want an adult today. I don't want to deal with what's about to happen. I don't want to do the thing. God, give me something and give me a simple reminder. So I want to give you 3 bathroom mirror-worthy things that I want you to write down. You don't write down the whole verse. Let me just say that in advance. Just write down the verse number. And then what I would encourage you to do, pick out your favorite, paste it on your bathroom mirror, man. We all need that kind of encouragement. So one that I picked is Philippians 4:13. This one's pretty famous. I could do all this through him who gives me strength. Not through me and my capabilities, through him and his grace and his power. Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world. The pattern of this world is I'm going to blow up and I'm going to punch you in the face. That's what this world is. But be transformed by a renewing of your mind. So I'm growing, I'm changing, just like Simon was changed from Simon to Peter, from one that hears the word to one that is the spiritual rock. That is your calling. It is your calling to be renewed in the Spirit. Philippians 4:9. Whatever you've learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice. Do the thing. I've given you an example. Why did I pick these 3 is because here's another really famous guy, Paul. He's like, look, I know, he's writing to the church in Philippi, the people in Rome, vast amounts of people, and he's like, look, I know it sucks. Life sucks, okay? He's saying the same thing to you now. Life sucks, but remember, Jesus gave us another way to do this. Jesus gave us an out. He gave us his glory, his power, so that we could deal with the suck. That's essentially what happened, right? We have been given another way. So I want you to write just the Philippians, the Romans, the Philippians, the verses down. Pick out what works for you. Paste it on your bathroom mirror, because I know that I need that encouragement some mornings, and I need that reassurance when my kids are screaming, when people are cussing me out, when life just doesn't go the way that I want. You guys lead us.